Hi, my name's Rich, and today I'd like to talk about the Fighter class in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. The Fighter starts off as a great pick for the first 5 levels, outclassing all but the Barbarian in hit points, but the higher you go, the better other classes will get in comparison. For the earlier levels, you'll be taking most of the damage and protecting the glass cannons of the party, like the Wizard or Rogue, so make sure they pay you back in the future. Dipping 2 levels of Fighter in a multi-class is a great idea because one of their best abilities in Action Surge can be taken quite easily. For roleplay, Fighters are one of the most flexible classes available. People criticise them for being a blank slate, but that just means you can customise them into most backstories. At level 1, the fighters get to choose their fighting style and gain the ability Second Wind. Second Wind is a pretty good ability for low level fighters, as it lets the fighter get back on their feet and back to smacking away like they're destined to do, regenerating some much needed hit points. With fighting styles, they can help define your character and what they are all about in combat. Is your character defensive, melee, or more of a ranged attacker with a bow and arrow? Defense is the most basic fighting style, but it can be very powerful and can make the difference between tanking a hit and going down, so don't underestimate its value. Archery is good for bow users and potential gunslingers, depending on what style of world your DM is going for. Protection is very situational, and unless you're attached at the hip with another character, it's not very useful. Dueling, like protection, is pretty situational, and basing your whole character around a +2 to damage rolls isn't the most useful, but the roleplay aspects of the duelist have a lot of potential, especially with the Samurai class from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. 2-weapon fighting is great for a dex-based fighter, and great weapon fighting is for the sort of player that wants to make a big number instead of fussy combos. It works well with the champion class. At level 2, the fighter gains Action Surge, the cornerstone of the fighter's toolkit and the most powerful skill they have. It not just potentially doubles the amount of attacks you make for a turn, but also gives you flexibility for other roleplay elements as well. For example, are you chasing down a thief? Action Surge helps you close the gap and grapple them. At level 3, the fighter gets to choose their different archetype or subclass. The basic ones in the player's handbook are all fantastic options, giving you the chance to go into the arcane with the Eldritch Knight, beat down your opponents with raw physical power of the champion, or try to think outside the box with the tactics of the Battle Master. The champion is a less complicated fighter that is a great choice for people that prefer less rules and more crits. It gives you a crit on both the roll of a 19 and a 20. Getting a critical hit on 19 and 20 doesn't sound like a big change, but it doubles your chance of critting and works well with all of the extra attacks you'll be getting at later levels. A special mention goes out to the characters with the half-orc race. Your savage attack gives you even more damage every time you crit. When you pick Battle Master, you learn skills that are called maneuvers that use superiority dice. These dice can be used to trip up your opponent, parry a weapon, or inspire other characters, so don't be afraid to experiment. Eldritch Knight is useful for casting in combat and gives the player a lot of flexibility in the wizard's spell list. Don't forget some cantrips scale up with damage when you hit level 5, 11 and 17. But if you're getting to level 17, then you'll be needing every advantage you can get. Abjuration and Evocation are the 2 schools you'll be taking spells from, so they offer a good offense and defense that complements the fighter. At level 4, you get the Ability Score Improvement, or Feat. The Ability Score Improvement, abbreviated to ASI, isn't very exciting for most players, but the fighter has the advantage of having more chances to improve their ability score than any other class. At levels 4, 6, 8, 12, 14, 16 and 19. That's 7 chances for a feat or maxing out your damage and toughness. This is also helpful for reaching those other scores in multiclassing. There are a huge amount of feats to choose from, enough to warrant its own video. At level 5, you get the ability to attack twice if you choose the attack action. This is where the fighter really starts gaining momentum in combat. When used in combination with Action Surge, you can get 4 attacks in a single round. Also, this is where your proficiency bonus increases, so you can expect some bumps to ability checks. It's always a welcome addition. At level 6, you get more ASI, meaning more chances to hit and more damage on your attacks. The numbers really do start adding up when you attack more than once every round. At level 7, you get an ability for your subclass. For the champion, this lets you jump further and adds half your proficiency to some saves, but other than that it's nothing too exciting. For the Battle Master, it means an extra combat superiority die and another maneuver. And by this time, you will have a better idea of what your character's strengths and weaknesses are, letting you pick and choose what is best suited to them. You also get the Know Your Enemy feature that lets you study your opponents and figure out some extra data on what you're facing, which is very handy when the DM pits you against big enemies that have weaknesses. This needs a minute to use and can only be used outside of combat, so you won't be the first person to rush into the fight anymore. For Eldritch Knights, this level gives you access to level 2 spells. I'm sure by now you've been planning your spells way ahead of time. You also get the War Magic ability that lets you make a bonus action attack when you cast a cantrip. It's really handy when combined with cantrips like Shocking Grasp for melee and Firebolt for ranged. At level 8, you gain more ability scores, so buff your character up. At level 9, you gain Indomitable, which lets you reroll a saving throw after you have failed it once every long rest. This improves to twice at level 13 and 3 times at level 17. These are your get out of jail free cards. They let you turn around a desperate combat at the last second and have saved my bacon many times. Also, your proficiency scales to +4, letting you make some more advanced rolls. The champion, at level 10, can choose a second option for their fighting style class. This helps add flexibility and gives you a variety of ways to fight with your champion. The Eldritch Knight gets the ability Eldritch Strike. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, the creature has disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes against a spell you cast before the end of your next turn. When you combine this with War Magic, you can attack and cast a cantrip at advantage in the same turn. At level 10, the Battle Master gets improved combat superiority. That means your superiority dice are turned into D10s. After this, it's just more additions to your current skill set until you hit level 15, where you get more of your archetype features. At level 12, you get more ASI. If you're a champion, then now is a good time to pick up the feat related to your chosen weapon. At level 13, you get to use Indomitable twice. Also note that the Eldritch Knight gets their level 3 spells, so you all know what that means, fireballs. At level 14, it's more ASI. You better read up on those feats and choose the best one for your character. At level 15, this is it people, the moment the champion has all been waiting for. Each attack counts as a critical hit if you roll an 18, 19 or 20. Combine that with the 3 attacks per action and it leads to a higher chance of a juicy sweet critical hit. If the champion is a half-orc using a great axe and has the Great Weapon Master feat, they hit 6 times. The chance of critting is pretty high. The Battle Master gets more maneuvers, and if they run out of superiority die, you get a free one every time you roll initiative, so you always have that parry in your back pocket. The Eldritch Knight has Arcane Charge, giving you a chance to teleport up to 30 feet when you use Action Surge, letting you get in and out of sticky situations with ease, or jumping ahead of the pack and getting the first strike in. At level 16, it's more ASI, so it's time to get that feat you've always had your eye on. At level 17, you gain a second Action Surge. Just when you thought Action Surge couldn't get any better, you get to use it twice every short rest, but unfortunately not on the same turn. At level 18, now it's time for the subclass to get their final ability. With the champion, you get to regenerate hit points at the start of every turn, making sure you're always attacking and giving your fighter some longevity. It is something that he normally lacks. The fighters are their strongest on the first and second turn, so this does help mitigate one of the fighter's downsides. The Battle Master gets to change out his superiority D10s for D12s now. It's a small upgrade, but depending on the maneuvers you have, it can make a big difference. For the Eldritch Knight, you get improved War Magic, letting you cast a spell and still attack with your bonus action instead of just a cantrip. It synergizes with Eldritch Strike even more. At level 19, everybody gets an ASI, and the Eldritch Knight gets level 4 spells. You should be bumped up to the 20s now, or have more feats than your character sheet can handle. At level 20, you can attack 4 times every action. That means, for the champion, an average of 1.31 crits per round. You have to deal with the wizard changing time and space and monks astral projecting around the world, but I'm sure that 4 attacks will be very helpful. Thanks for watching the video. If you'd like to leave a comment, subscribe, or give me a thumbs up, it would be much appreciated. I'd love any feedback to help improve my videos.